Good morning. This is my second video. I was supposed to do one every day. I haven't really followed through with that. Something I have to really work on is following through. Um, had a couple interesting ideas and epiphanies throughout this past week. A friend of mine actually gave me some good insight on some questions. It was what is purpose? Do you need a purpose? And I think that's different for everybody. For someone like me, very introspective, I like to think about things, give myself a certain amount of depth and thought. I'm very, very cerebral that way. I need that personally, and for everybody else, it's not always the case, or consciously, I should say. Everybody has some sort of a purpose, and I guess there was an interesting quote that was from what's his name? Corey Taylor from Slipknot. Shout out to him. It's on his an album from Stone Sour. It says, do you serve a purpose or do you purposely serve? Now, I don't know who came up with the quote, but I think that you can find that to be pretty true. And most people don't know the difference, but I think that both can be true at the same time. And for me, that I actually think that the most successful people understand the difference between the two and purposely do both. There's no shame in purposefully serving. Serving a purpose is just finding. It's selfless. Serving a purpose can be selfish too, but a better form of it would be like serving a purpose greater than yourself. There's my maca cup. Oh, it's a dad cup. It's a Father's Day gift. It was wonderful. Thank you, Sydney. It was necessary. I didn't have the best Father's Day. I was I admitted myself for a week in a ward. I was broken. So anyway, she got me this cup, and it was wonderful, and it really tickled my heart and made me feel special. And she's wonderful, quite wonderful, in a way that can't be described. So, as I was saying, serving a purpose and purposefully serving, the most successful people do both. The reason I came to that conclusion is because serving a purpose other than yourself and purposefully serving are two things that you can do simultaneously. And they don't have to be the same exact thing. Serving a purpose, and say, being a father, for example. I serve a purpose as being a father, and that's sometimes enough, depending on your character. But to truly be very specifically successful in that, you have to purposefully serve them too. You start a business. I think that the difference between serving a purpose and purposefully serving in a business is like, you work your way up. You have a job, right? I think the reason that I'm good at what I do, I'm not going to reveal completely what I do, but initially was to serve, to serve a purpose, and to be the best I could be. But in order to actualize that, I had to purposefully serve. I had to be purposeful in that. So being the best wasn't enough. It was, to do the best job I could for the individual on that level. And every job is a little bit different. It could be, performing something, physically, or emotionally supporting somebody in a different way, lending an ear. And I think my best friends, the best friends that you can have, do that. I think you grow that way. You serve a purpose and then purposefully serve. But you can do both. And they, again, don't have to be synonymous with the same thing, but I think the completeness of it is just to do both. He asked a question, a friend of mine, is that even enough? Is fully living in the moment enough? I think you can fully live in the moment. From moment to moment, but the problem that you run into if you're just living from moment to moment to moment and living in it here, now, and just being present and kind of one with everything, if you will, you have to have some purpose, and some people that don't, even the people that claim that they don't, say the drug addict, right? For example, the drug addict that goes from place to place seeking to find the drug, that their life is nihilism. They do whatever they can, but they serve, they serve that purpose. They serve toward that goal. They serve towards that end. I've known the alcoholic to serve the purpose of doing their job, the functional alcoholic, right? Work to get home to have that drink. In order to change, you gotta want to, and you gotta need to. So want and need, those are two factors. But there's more to than just want and need, I find. Example, the two, as Tony Robbins put it, greatest stimuli for change are pleasure and pain. You can find that in a lot of different things. The pursuit of pleasure, and hedonism, if you will, or Epicureanism, ancient philosophies, and hedonistic calculus, if you will, Jeremy Bentham. Poor excuse for philosophy, in my opinion, simply because it lacks greater discipline. The pursuit of pleasure isn't terrible in and of itself, but for that to be the end to all of life. Now, everybody sees that, and I think that's one of the big problems in our society and our philosophy as Americans, in the greater context of the world. The pursuit of pleasure, above all things, is this very, very radical idea that puts the self above everything else. Now, that's not to say that you have to do that, but it is in and of itself extremely selfish and self-centered and self-serving. Oftentimes, because of the depravity of man, it ends up at the cost or the expense of others around you, or people that you don't even know. So pleasure is a great stimulus. I mean, it's why we have sex, right? A lot of the time. But there's extremes to that, like fucking everybody you want to fuck, sleeping with whoever you want, or trying to. There's people that do that in life. Young men. Once upon a time, that was one of my greatest pursuits. Anytime I came home from the military, I would attempt to do that. very selfish, very, self-serving. I didn't really care who it was with. I mean, you do care, but the pursuit was there. It was like I didn't have a person in mind specifically all the time, and other times I did, but it was just trying to hook up culture. You know, so the pursuit of pleasure was this interesting thing. It was like, well, yeah, I did this, and it was self-satisfying. It was very in the moment, very, you know, instant gratification. Instantly gratifying, but left you feeling empty in the end. The other end of that coin, the pursuit of pleasure is the pursuit, or the running away from pain. Pain is an even greater stimulus, oftentimes. Right? Say, going on a trip, right? You have this trip in mind, and there's this place you got to go to, but you got to save money, right? You got to plan, you got to do all this stuff, and then you got to go on the trip. Okay, that's like a pleasure thing versus a pain thing, right? And this could be making a decision that affects your life negatively, very negatively. The opposite side of that, like, okay, so like, say sleeping with this woman, getting an orgasm, versus she has an STD and you know it, right? What are your options? Like, okay, is it chlamydia? No. What if it's AIDS? What if it's HIV? What if it's hepatitis C? What if it's something incurable, herpes or whatever, so on and so forth. More than likely, you're going to go, I'm going to avoid that. I'm going to dodge that bullet. Oh, the rational person, well, the more lay person probably be like, yeah, I don't know. But they might look at this person and see them as this absolutely gorgeous, like, okay, say you had like Megan Fox when she was 21, Megan, you're still beautiful, but you're dating a douchebag. Don't care. So like 21-year-old Megan Fox, but she has HIV. You're like, well, I could put on a rubber, But there's always that risk. What if? Or maybe you don't have one available, whatever the point is. The idea of pain. Okay, like burning yourself on a stove, like immediately. Like, oh shit, you're not going to run into a burning building, to save a cat. Now, some people go. The idea of pain, the pain itself is so visceral oftentimes. It's like, ow, 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 please, no, God, no. The running away of that pain, the anticipation of that pain, the learned pain, the individual that knows pain, truly knows it from experience, will oftentimes shy away from that so dramatically, or not drastically, guarded, if you will. Versus like the idea of pleasure, it's like, yeah, I could do that, that'd be fun, that'd be cool, great, yeah, I could. The pain, there's the pleasure. Pain is extremely motivating. Anybody who knows deep pain knows, like, that would be detrimental, just destroy you. For me, trying to rediscover pleasure and pain. The last thing you ever want to do is become numb to everything around you and comfortable. Comfortable in your misery because it's no longer miserable. It's just existing. Comfortable in pleasure because it loses its flavor. I'm bored. It's a slower death. And those are things that I have to rediscover for myself. That stimulus. To figure out what that's going to be for me. Ultimately, the initiation of change, the best stimulus for those changes are want or the opposite of that, the fear. But that can't maintain change. That can't maintain your purpose. That can't maintain the service. It's discipline. You have to maintain discipline. You have to be disciplined. You can't be disciplined. I mean, shit, you can't really accomplish too much. You know, the pain wears off, the pleasure wears off. So what maintains that is discipline. And I desperately need to rediscover my discipline. It's not possible. It's like flexing a muscle I haven't flexed in a long time. You know, discipline to go to the gym every day, discipline to do a video every day, discipline to make content, discipline to maintain my car, for example, or discipline to make sure that everything is in order. To have a plan maintains that you have to maintain discipline. You know, it becomes a habit forming thing, and new habits, especially positive ones, are very difficult to maintain because they're not habits yet. You're trying to develop them. You know, the habits that I had developed over the years, whether they're positive or negative, are so habitual now that I don't even think about them. I just do them. But the new ones that I know for change, that are going to be difficult to do, I need to be disciplined. And I recommend that you do the same as well. Part of it is this fear. What if? Like what if I fuck up? What if I fail? Oh, I mean, you miss 100% of the chances that you don't take. You know, it was in baseball. It was another Tony Robbins thing, and I kept this, was, you know, the best batters in baseball. I think that, you know, scoring a goal in hockey and hitting a ball in baseball are two of the most difficult things to do. You know, look at the scores. But in baseball, it's more measurable. I think it's better to measure that anyway. It's a statistic because they maintain that. You hit 333. You know, 1 out of 3 bats, you hit the ball. You're the shit in baseball. Pareto's principle, 80-20 rule, right? Pareto was a 16th century Italian economist. He noticed that 20% of the population maintained 80% of the wealth. It's 1/5, 20% of the time. That's healthy. So, if you're doing 1/5 or 1/3 of the ventures that you start, maintain, and finish, you're extremely successful. Some food for thought. Something I'll reflect on. I maintain my journal. Maintain these video logs. Maintain discipline. Just rediscover it, and to branch that discipline out into my wants, desires. It'll be difficult to do, but anything worth doing is worth doing right. If you tuned in, thank you for listening. If you subscribe, appreciate it. You know, like it, comment on it, tell me, give me some feedback. You know, I can't do this alone. Well, we ultimately do everything alone to some degree. But if you have any questions, or if you have anything you'd like to talk about, care for me to share with, go ahead and ask. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.